This isn't just about tolerating anything that life tosses at us. It's tied in with embracing it with great affection, as an inescapable reality, yet as something helpful and essential for our development. An influential thought transforms possible misfortune into a wellspring of solidarity. So how would we start to acknowledge as well as adoration our destiny? It begins with understanding that all that happens should be visible as an open door. Apathy instructs us that our personality is shaped not through our encounters, but rather through our reactions to those encounters. At the point when we love our destiny, we are basically saying that we confide in the normal progression of life, and we accept there is esteem in whatever occurs. This doesn't mean we want or wish for misery or difficulty, yet rather that we discover a genuine sense of reconciliation and reason in the certainty of such encounters. The excellence of Love 40 lies in its extreme confidence. Rather than battling against the flows of life, we figure out how to swim with them. This viewpoint doesn't come effectively, obviously. It requires a profound philosophical shift, a kind of mental overhauling that permits us to see the upsides in foreboding shadows without being gullible or pretentious of the difficulties. For instance, in the event that you lose an employment, it's normal to feel steamed and restless. Notwithstanding, embracing Amor would include a change in context where you could consider this occasion to be a chance to seek after a way more lined up with your actual interests or to foster flexibility and versatility. Embracing Amor fati likewise implies relinquishing harshness and lament. Emotionlessness doesn't request that we fail to remember the past or overlook the aggravation. All things being equal, it urges us to recognize our sentiments, yet not to permit them to control us. By cherishing our destiny, we acknowledge the past for what a piece of our process has driven us to where we are currently adding to who we have become. This acknowledgement liberates us from the heaviness of past complaints, permitting us to push ahead with a lighter soul and a more clear psyche. Besides, Love is tied in with tracking down delight in the actual excursion, in addition to the objective. It's not difficult to think we'll be blissful when we arrive at a specific achievement when we land that position. At the point when we purchase that house. At the point when we resign. Yet, emotionlessness instructs us that there's a significant bliss accessible to us on the spot, right now, if by some stroke of good luck we decide to see and embrace it. This doesn't mean we quit endeavoring or becoming. It implies we appreciate the cycle as much as, while possibly not more than the results. In reasonable terms, living with our greasy can begin with little advances. It could mean pausing for a minute every day to consider something that didn't go as expected and tracking down something important in that experience. Maybe it showed you a thing or two, or perhaps it reinforced a relationship through shared battles. It could likewise include more critical life-altering events, for example, picking a profession way that feels consistent with your fundamental beliefs, regardless of whether it's less regular or secure. Believing that the difficulties en route will advance your life's story. Love enhances our lives by extending our association with the world and to ourselves. It assists us with developing an inward flexibility that goes about as an anchor in the blustery oceans of life. This adoration for destiny doesn't make life simpler, yet it makes us more grounded and all the more amicably lined up with the normal flow of occasions. As we keep on investigating emotionlessness, we should attempt to see Amor as a philosophical idea, yet as an everyday practice, a method for embracing every second, each test and each euphoria that life offers. Thusly, we change our relationship with life itself, transforming each insight into a pathway to more prominent insight and harmony. The excursion to apathy. Setting out on the excursion to emotionlessness resembles beginning a significant experience, one that welcomes us to investigate profound bits of knowledge into our lives and in a general sense change how we cooperate with our general surroundings. It's not only about learning a bunch of hypotheses. about changing those hypotheses into regular practices reinforce our strength, improve our satisfaction, and develop how we might interpret life. The excursion starts with a basic, yet significant change in context, perceiving that while we have zero control over outside occasions, we have some control over our reactions to them. This acknowledgement is the foundation of emotionless way of thinking. A freeing idea liberates us from feeling missiled by conditions or others' activities. All things considered, it engages us to assume responsibility for our inward world. As we dive further into apathy, we figure out how to develop 4 cardinal ethics: shrewdness, mental fortitude, equity, and moderation. Every one of these ethics isn't simply a theoretical ideal, however, a reasonable manual for living great. Insight trains us to see things as they truly are. Boldness gives us the solidarity to deal with difficulties directly. Equity guides us to treat others decently, and moderation assists us with tracking down balance no matter what. Embracing these ethics in day-to-day existence can be testing, yet additionally extraordinarily fulfilling. One more key part of the unemotional excursion is creating care, being completely present at the time. This training assists us with turning out to be more mindful of our viewpoints, sentiments, and responses by noticing our. All things considered, it engages us to assume responsibility for our inward world. As we dive further into apathy, we figure out how to develop 4 cardinal ethics: shrewdness, mental fortitude, equity, and moderation. Every one of these ethics isn't simply a theoretical ideal, however, a reasonable manual for living great. Insight trains us to see things as they truly are. Boldness gives us the solidarity to deal with difficulties directly. Equity guides us to treat others decently, and moderation assists us with tracking down balance no matter what. Embracing these ethics in day-to-day existence can be testing, yet additionally extraordinarily fulfilling. One more key part of the unemotional excursion is creating care, being completely present at the time. This training assists us with turning out to be more mindful of our viewpoints, sentiments, and responses by noticing ourselves without judgment. We can begin to recognize designs that could lead us from our indifferent goals. For example, we could see that we will generally respond incautiously when we're anxious, or that we clutch hard feelings longer than is sound. Mindfulness is the most important move toward change. Useful activities are additionally indispensable to this excursion. One such activity is the night reflection, where we audit our day and evaluate how well we satisfied our emotionless standards. Did we deal with an unpleasant circumstance with level-headedness? Did we treat everybody we experienced with decency and graciousness? These reflections assist us with gaining from our encounters, yet in addition support our obligation to carrying on with an emotionless life. The excursion to emotionlessness likewise includes embracing difficulties as any open doors for development. This point of view shift is fundamental since it transforms each obstruction into an educator. When we face hardships as opposed to feeling crushed, we can ask ourselves, what might what is going on at any point educate me? This approach makes us stronger, yet additionally more open to learning and self-awareness. Moreover, emotionlessness urges us to fabricate a local area or search out similar people who are likewise on this way. Having an emotionally supportive network can be unimaginably valuable as it furnishes us with consolation, alternate points of view, and friendship on our excursion, imparting encounters and difficulties to other people who comprehend and value in different standards can improve our own comprehension and use of emotionlessness. At last, the excursion to emotionlessness is a deep-rooted pursuit. There's really no need to focus on arriving at a condition of flawlessness, yet about endeavoring toward consistent improvement. It's tied in with turning out to be more prudent, stronger, and more lined up with our actual selves. Every day as we progress, we'll observe that the prizes of this philosophical way are not just about private serenity and versatility. They stretch out to working on our associations with others, and decidedly affecting our general surroundings. The excursion to emotionlessness is about development and change. It provokes us to search internally, reevaluate our qualities, and adjust our activities to those qualities. It trains us to be solid notwithstanding misfortune and sympathetic in our dealings with others. It's a way that upgrades our own lives, yet in addition can possibly improve the existences of everybody around us. How about we embrace this excursion with open hearts and psyches, prepared to learn and fill in manners we may in all likelihood never have envisioned? Down-to-earth emotionlessness in day-to-day existence. Incorporating emotionlessness into day-to-day existence is about substantially more than embracing a philosophical viewpoint. It's tied in with changing dynamic, unemotional standards into substantial activities and propensities that upgrade our regular encounters. Common sense apathy isn't only for seasons of emergency or philosophical. It's tied in with noticing our programmed reactions and finding out if they line up with unemotional standards. When something doesn't go as expected, rather than responding with disappointment or outrage, we stop and think about a more estimated, emotionless reaction. This could mean taking a full breath and reviewing the unemotional view that we have some control over our responses regardless of whether we have zero control over outside occasions. This propensity for stopping and picking our reaction can change our collaborations and essentially decrease pressure and struggle in our lives. One more key part of useful aloofness is managing pessimistic feelings, really. Emotionlessness instructs us that pessimistic feelings are in many cases the after effect of mixed-up decisions or exorbitant connections to things unchangeable as far as we might be concerned. At the point when we feel overpowered by gloomy feelings, it's useful to step back and examine their source. Is it true that we are disturbed due to something unchangeable as far as we might be concerned? Could it be said that we are putting an excessive amount of significance on outer approval or material achievement? By scrutinizing the underlying foundations of our feelings and adjusting our assumptions to emotionless standards, we can recover and point of view. Pragmatic apathy likewise reaches out to how we handle relational connections. Stoics underline the significance of equity and generosity in managing others. This implies rehearsing sympathy, being fair in our decisions, and taking into account the benefit of everyone in our choices. It's tied in with approaching others with deference and grasping in any event when we differ or when others don't regard us as we trust. By exemplifying these excellencies in our connections, we live more unemotionally, yet additionally add to a more agreeable and steady local area. In our quest for self-improvement, reasonable apathy urges us to ponder our day each night. This isn't about brutal self-scrutinized prejudice, yet about legitimate self-appraisal. What did I really do well today? Where in the world have I been more apathetic? This act of night reflection hardens the day's illustrations and sets us up to be significantly more temperate and strong tomorrow. It supports the emotionless obligation to non-stop improvement and assists us with keeping tabs on our development in carrying on with an unemotional life. At long last, common sense aloofness includes embracing difficulties as any open doors for development and learning. This implies seeing deterrents not as obstacles, but rather as opportunities to rehearse and fortify our emotionless ethics. Whether it's a troublesome undertaking at work, an individual mishap, or an unforeseen change in plans, each challenge is an opportunity to apply emotionless insight and versatility. By coordinating these practices into our day-to-day routines, emotionlessness becomes a way of thinking we read about, yet a dynamic living aid. It impacts our thought process, how we respond, how we connect with others, and how we figure out the world. Through down-to-earth emotionlessness, we don't simply endure the changes of life. We flourish in the midst of them, tracking down further fulfillment and harmony in our excursion through life. As we close the present excursion into the core of apathy, recall that embracing this way of thinking is about something beyond understanding. It's tied in with living every second. Every choice and each challenge offers another chance to rehearse flexibility, shrewdness, and temperance. By coordinating emotionlessness into our day-to-day routines, we don't simply change ourselves. We change our whole world. Each smart activity in turn. Much obliged to you for going along with me today, and for being a piece of the Indifferent Diary people group. Assuming you're anxious to plunge further into the standards we examined or to investigate more about how emotionlessness can change your life, if it's not too much trouble, look at one of the proposed recordings on your screen now. Together, we should keep on developing, reflect and embrace the indifferent way to a seriously satisfying and peaceful life.